Hello and welcome to AmeriCorps Vista in the first webinar of your orientation, Countdown to Vista Service. This brief period before you start service next week is it's really a great opportunity to learn about how Vista works, your Vista benefits, and much more. My name is Chris Hawks and I'm joined by Barbara Reynolds. We will be your host today from Vista. You will also see several of our colleagues in the chat and Q&A, including Gina Viner, Jen Brooks, Charles Wong, Jacob Doney, and Andy King, all assisting with the Q&A throughout, as well as our partners at LSI assisting with any technical issues throughout the presentation. And we love seeing your comments in the chat before we began about why you chose to sign up for Vista, chose to serve. Certainly know this is an exciting time as you are really gearing up to start your Vista year, and I'm very happy to be with you today.
Hi, this is Barbara. I also want to add my welcome and thank you for joining today. Thank you for joining AmeriCorps Vista. I'm so happy to meet you today. I really hope the year ahead, it will be a powerful experience for you. And I'm looking forward to working with Chris to help you get started today. So here is our agenda. We are going to start out with some brief introductions and an overview of the Vista program, as well as some opening comments about your Vista member orientation. Then we'll jump into some of the burning questions you may have right now, questions for your Vista project and your site supervisor, questions for other contacts or other folks in your network, and then questions for our Vista staff. We will then take a look at the Vista terms and conditions of service. And as Chris mentioned a moment ago, we will open up for Q&A as we near the end of our time with you this afternoon. And then finally, we will share a few important reminders, ask you for some feedback on today's presentation, and then wrap up before we log off today. And here are our goals for asking you to join us. We asked you to log on so that our staff would have a chance to connect with you and to help ease you into your service year. We also know that this webinar can be a great way for you to meet other new AmeriCorps members and start to build connections with colleagues across the country. And it looks like some of that is happening in the chat already. We will also take time today to reinforce some of the really important details of your Vista service. We know there's a lot of information coming at you from our office, possibly coming from your project site, and we really want to highlight several critical key pieces of information today. And then finally, we want to leave today's webinar and leave you with a really good sense of where to find answers to any lingering questions that you may have, which we always know there are many, many questions. So with that limited time that we have online today, we know we may not be able to answer every single question that you have and every single question that's posed, though I tell you we will do our best once we turn to our Q&A this afternoon. So with all that, Chris, you want to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Barbara. It is my pleasure to give you this official welcome to AmeriCorps and to Volunteers in Service to America, or the acronym, of course, is VISTA. So welcome, welcome. And there are just over 700 Vista members beginning service with you next week. And currently, just under 5,000 Vista members are serving in rural and urban areas in all 50 states and in several U.S. territories and tribal nations. And as a new member of Vista, you are joining a national service program with a rich history. Vista has been fighting poverty and building communities for more than 50 years. And our strength, it really comes from the talent, the motivation, and energy of our members like you. So let me thank you for really stepping up to share your skills and your passion to serve our communities. It truly is an honor for me to welcome you on behalf of the Vista program. And here on this slide, you see an image that shows the Vista program structure with key partners that make your service possible. You can see there are several layers that help support Vista projects and Vista members like you. And the first is the AmeriCorps headquarters located in Washington, D.C. AmeriCorps also has regional offices across the country. And in those offices, AmeriCorps staff review and approve proposals for new Vista projects and really approve the placement of members into those projects. So the regional office is a super valuable resource for Vista members, especially when there might be concerns about their assignments that maybe their supervisor cannot resolve. The regional office would be great for that. And you can reach your regional office by email, and it's pretty simple. It's using the state abbreviation where you're serving at cns.gov. So an example here, if you're serving in Texas, you can reach your regional office by emailing tx@cns.gov. My home state of North Carolina, nc@cns.gov. And also in this image, you can see the sponsoring organization is listed along with your supervisor. Your sponsor and supervisor will be your day-to-day support and provide all the details on your project work. And at our AmeriCorps headquarters, you will be supported by the Vista Training Unit and the Vista Member Support Unit, or VMSU, among other departments. If you can't find the answer to a benefits-related question on AmeriCorps.gov or maybe from the Vista Member Handbook, the VMSU specifically is a really helpful resource for questions regarding your benefits throughout your year of service, not just now during pre-service, throughout your year. The VMSU is a great resource. And this year, you will be joining thousands of Vista colleagues around the country to fight poverty. The Vista program mission is to strengthen organizations that fight poverty. And we do that by deploying AmeriCorps members to serve in local community agencies. The Vista headquarters includes multiple teams and 30 staff. Staff teams include the member support and training units that we just mentioned, along with program impact and marketing and outreach. Many of our staff include service alumni of AmeriCorps NCCC, of AmeriCorps Vista, the Peace Corps, and more. Myself, I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer from Belize in 2010 to 12. And again, during your service year, the VMSU will be your point of contact for any benefits-related questions, just as a reminder.
All right, so let's focus for a few minutes on you and your role in the Vista program. The role of the AmeriCorps Vista member is to support the organization's mission by providing solutions that enhance efficiency and build capacity by raising money, developing systems, recruiting volunteers, and otherwise creating lasting change. So there's a lot of ways that you contribute to the Vista program mission. Vista members are recruited by their sponsoring organizations directly, or they can find service opportunities for Vista on their own and then apply directly to Vista projects through the My AmeriCorps portal, which is the online system for applying for any AmeriCorps position. So speaking of that, speaking of recruitment, could you just take a quick second to type the answer to the chat question? How were you recruited to serve? Were you recruited directly from your sponsoring organization? Did you find a position on your own through other advertising, or were you cruising the service opportunity listings in My AmeriCorps? Just anything at all you can note in the chat. And I see that the chat is alive with responses. Thank you all very much for that. I would like to say that I am able to read these, but honestly, my brain is not that agile. But I am capturing things, a few examples of folks who were recruited directly by their site, a couple of folks, I think I saw some social media, some LinkedIn, some other advertising that folks came across. Yep, recruited by the site, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for all of that. It's, I think, really helpful for us just to see you in the chat, answering these questions and get a little bit of a sense of the diverse ways in which people come to our program. So all of your answers there are really, really helpful. Thank you for that. Good to know. The net is wide to recruit Vistas to serve in the program. Thank you for sharing that. So as you've seen in the chat and heard of the last few minutes, We are a large and diverse group of folks on this webinar today. And no matter how it is that you were recruited or you came to apply and ultimately accept your Vista position, there are things that you all have in common, that you have in common with all the Vista members who are starting their service in the coming week. First of all, you and your Vista colleagues are making a 1-year full-time commitment to strengthen and to support your community through service. And next, of course, central to all of Vista member service is an important document that you all share called the Vista Assignment Description, or VAD. I love me some VAD. The Vista Assignment Description provides the overarching goals of your project. It explains some of the specific project objectives that you'll be working towards this year. And then it lays out some specific activities as well that you will complete as you work to accomplish those project objectives. Each of you should have a Vista Assignment Description. If you don't have it at your fingertips already, you can access it at any time by looking at your member homepage in your My AmeriCorps account at my.americorps.gov. You can see that site address on the screen. And I definitely encourage you to grab that VAD if you have not already. Once we log off today, put that high up on your list of things to do as follow-up. It is important to know if you have your VAD currently or if you're about to get it, it's very, very likely that that document was written before you were recruited and selected for your project, just the way the process works to get a Vista project approved. They were likely written a while ago. So there may be updates that are needed to your assignment description to make it be as current as it can be and as relevant for you in your service this year. So again, once you have your hands on your VAD, check it closely, and then use it as an early check-in and an early discussion point with your new supervisor next week when you get started, and just ask them directly, does this document need to be updated? What has changed since it was written? What do I need to know? And what do we need to know together to be able to update the VAD, again, so that you're working from really current information, you can make any changes, anything that needs to be done to that document. When Chris and I meet with you again next Monday, we will go into more details about capacity building and the unique nature of Vista service within capacity building, and we will again return to the Vista assignment description and ask if you could to be sure to bring it with you or have it at your fingertips when you log on next week. So next, we want to get a bit more information about your service, as we talked about the VAD, which rules everyone. Want to see at this point, if you wouldn't mind, in the chat, just type in the answer to this question. In what city or town will you be serving? And I know I saw in the opening comments, a number of folks were chatting in. I saw greetings from Kodiak, Alaska, and Raleigh, North Carolina, Baltimore. And as you can see now, again, the chat is alive with lots and lots of responses. So, Chris, I don't know about you, but I'm seeing really all over the country. I just saw Puerto Rico scroll by, saw some Hawaii, more Baltimore, Washington, New York, lots and lots of locations.
And in Alaska as well. Yeah, it stretches wide and far.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you. Yeah, if you haven't yet typed in, please do. We'd love to see your town or your city, your location, give you a shout out in the chat. And, you know, personally, I'm in Baltimore, so I'm delighted to see the various Maryland placements as well. Welcome to all of you, no matter where you're serving. Really, really great to see the different locations of folks who are on the webinar today. And, you know, keep it coming if you haven't had a chance to type in yet. We do know that based on your AmeriCorps applications, as well as your service placements, right, that we have folks who will be starting their service this month in many different communities and in many different types of AmeriCorps Vista projects. And so in addition to the different cities and towns, there's a whole lot of other diversity in your community. And I think we'll start to see a little bit of that as well today and when we meet again with you on Monday.
Okay, and kind of following up on that, let's get a sense of how many folks will relocate to serve. So in just a second, you should see a poll appear on your screen, and we just quick poll just to ask you to indicate yes or no to see if you are relocating in order to serve in AmeriCorps, relocating or not. If you don't see the poll, yes, please feel free to type yes or no in the chat. See a few in the chat as well. That's perfect. Yeah, we'll just give it. It looks like actually many have already responded. Give it another couple seconds, but give it a kind of drum roll on my end and close it out now. Okay, great. Wow, yeah, so we're at 37% are relocating to a new community to serve, and 63% are not. They're serving in their local community. Great, and this is somewhat similar to the Vista, the national average for Vista. It's around 2/3 and 1/3, so this makes sense. But thanks you for participating in the poll. For those who are relocating, sending you good vibes, a safe, easy move, no struggles, just sending that good mojo. All right. Thanks for that. And here on the slide, so today's webinar is one part of a multifaceted orientation that all new Vista members complete. So on the far left of this graphic, you can see the phases of your orientation, and also some of the major tasks and the blocks to the right of each phase. This structure is also reflected in the Vista member orientation learning path on the Vista campus. So although you may start off by teleserving, your supervisor will still be providing you with an on-site orientation and training during your first couple of weeks to guide you as you start your year of service. And the phases of your Vista orientation include pre-service, which is where we're at right now, your first day of service, and then end service. It's good to know that orientation to your AmeriCorps service is an ongoing process and involves quite a number of people. We know your position will be a complex one, and it takes a bit of time and effort to get you started off strong. So let's talk through some of the really important elements of the first two phases of your orientation. So as part of your Vista member orientation, you are required to complete several courses and tutorials online. We aren't going to spend too much time on it here because we know you've seen the emails, but we do want to reference it at least. These online courses are located on the Vista member orientation learning path on the Vista campus, and also must be completed before you begin service, the pre-service ones. So if you haven't done so already, please be sure to access the learning path on the Vista campus. You can do this by going to learn.americorps.gov. You'll have to create an account if it's your first time visiting the site, and this account is separate. Just to note, it's a separate account from your My AmeriCorps account on the Vista campus. So once signed in, you can just click Catalog in the menu near the top, then locate the Vista member orientation learning path and subscribe to it and join the training to start off. The Terms and Conditions course is linked to your my.americorps.gov account. So you can certify your acceptance in My AmeriCorps. You must accept the terms and conditions of service in order to start your Vista service. That's a big course, the terms and conditions. And we know there's a lot to do before Monday. And again, you can keep track of your progress on the coursework and required forms by following that VMO learning path on the Vista campus. A few questions come up about it not showing like 100%, and that's okay. We're working on that. But what you want to see are those like green check marks. If you see a green check mark on the campus next to a pre-service course, that means you're good to go.
All right, so in addition to the coursework that Chris was just talking about on the campus, we'll also need some onboarding forms for you. And these include a direct deposit form for your living allowance, a federal tax withholding form, unpaid compensation information, and then an end of service benefit selection. So all of those forms are located in the My AmeriCorps portal. If you haven't completed these already, if you haven't completed all of these, please plan on doing it as soon as you can after today's webinar. We need these forms to officially enroll you in AmeriCorps and start the process for your living allowance and other service benefits. There are a number of benefits available to Vista members, and a lot of it is posted, a lot of detail is posted on AmeriCorps.gov as well as on the Vista campus. And so I just want to encourage you, if you have not read through the extensive benefits that are available to Vista members, that you carve out some time to do that as well, as soon as you can. It's a lot of information and it's all really important to you, but it's not urgent beyond the things that we need to draw your attention to today. And you can see a link in the chat as well that shows you the direct link to all of those Vista member benefits. Thank you for that, Jess. So I imagine at this point, as you are here, T-minus 6 days from starting your Vista service, that you've got a lot of questions, about what that first day is going to look like. And so here's what I can tell you. Here's what we know from Vista headquarters. We know that your first day of service is going to be on Monday, August 30th. Dun, dun, dun. We know that that day will include some type of orientation to your project site and to the specific activities and the duties that are listed in your Vista assignment descriptions. We know that's going to happen. It's possible that your supervisor at your project site will have for you a formal agenda or formal schedule of meetings or other activities that they want you to participate in on Monday. Could be less formal. It really very much will depend on your organization and how their workflow goes. So those day one, those August 30th schedules will vary. And I really want to encourage you, if you have not recently touched base with your supervisor, meaning touch base this week, that you make a point to do that, just to say hello and also see what you should plan for Monday. If there's anything you need to bring with you, any heads up your supervisor needs to give you logistically, I think that's a great step to take this week to do that. So along with starting that on-site orientation on Monday, Chris and I will also be back with you and present your second Vista orientation webinar called Launching Your Vista Service. We'll be back online with you in the Zoom room for that launching webinar at the same time as today's presentation, so 3 p.m. Eastern on Monday, August 30th, and we'll complete that webinar with you no later than 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Monday as well. And as with today's webinar, the link to join, the link for the Zoom connection, can be found in the guide to entering Vista service that was emailed to you last week. It's also the exact same link that you used today. So keep this close at hand and you should be good to go. On Monday's webinar, Chris and I will go into a little more depth about Vista's history. Again, we will return to that Vista assignment description, and then we'll talk through additional resources that Vista headquarters and the Vista program offers you in your year ahead. We will also, again, on Monday, have more time for Q&A and really want to try to get as many of your questions answered as we can so that you're in really good shape for that first week. And then finally, our big to-do on Monday is that we will swear you in as an AmeriCorps member, right? We'll administer the federal oath of service that officially swears you in to being a Vista member.
Great. So next up, as we look at our agenda, we're going to dive into a bunch of common questions that Vistas have, and we'll certainly answer as many as we can today. I imagine you have a ton of questions about this new Vista adventure. I see a bunch coming in the chat. And we'll say, probably hold off on the questions because we might go through might provide some of those answers here, but definitely use the Q&A button at the bottom if we don't address this question. And through this section on FAQs, we'll give you a bit of a notification when we start asking for questions in the Q&A. So Typically, new Vista member questions fall into one of three categories. So questions for your project, for your sponsoring organization or supervisor, questions for other contacts, and then questions for Vista. Today, we'll review some of the most important and time-sensitive questions new Vista members ask. In some cases, you may have questions about the office setting at your Vista project, your work schedule, or more. On the screen, you can see a reminder of two questions listed in the Vista Member Orientation FAQs, or Frequently Asked Questions document that was emailed this morning. In addition, you may want details on the office dress code or maybe what you should bring to your first day on site. So for these types of questions, we ask you to reach out early and often to your project supervisor. This person will be able to orient you to your specific project site, the community you'll serve, and the people you'll work with this year. And I'm sure that you have specific questions about some of the benefits of Vista service. On this screen, you can see two of the most frequently asked questions we receive at Vista headquarters. So, does the Vista healthcare cover my current medication? And does my student loan qualify for deferment or forbearance? And because these types of questions are very personal to you and our Vista staff doesn't have those details, you'll need to reach out to other contacts to find those answers. So specifically for the healthcare question, you can check out the website for the Vista Healthcare Benefit Administrator. They're called IMG, or International Medical Group. And you can find a lot of information at their website. It's AmericorVista.imglobal.com. There are links to this to the website from the health benefits page on AmeriCorps.gov as well, if you ever need to access it. Has the health plan, you can read all through it, and also contact information if you have those really specific questions about, for instance, for this example, like your current medication, if that would be covered. And then to find out about your student loans, we ask that you review the details in the Vista member handbook first, and then just reach out to your specific lender to find out if they would qualify for forbearance or deferment. And then finally, I'm sure you have a lot of questions for our Vista team as well. As noted in the FAQs, our staff are often asked about the required background check, also about healthcare coverage, relocation benefits, the living allowance, and working outside of the Vista position. So let's walk through each of these quickly.
All right, so I am tackling the criminal history check question. How do I complete it? This one is a really big to-do item on your orientation checklist for this week, right? To enroll in Vista, it is a requirement that you undergo a background investigation prior to starting service. So that means prior to Monday, and that includes you submitting information online so that we can complete that background check. Good to know that there's no cost to you for completing the background check, and the information that we ask you for will be securely submitted, meaning there will be a secure link that we ask you to submit information to. So you will know to do that because you'll receive an email from the email address support@checker.com. And you, in addition to receiving that email, it will include instructions on how to make that secure submittal that I just mentioned, how to get your personal information to us for the background check in a way that's safe and secure online. Once you receive the email from checker.com, you must complete that online background check within 7 days of receipt. So hopefully this is coming to you. It will, if not, it will come to you very, very soon, and we just ask you to reply immediately. One thing that's really important to note here is that this communication regarding your criminal history check, as well as many, many other things we're going to be talking about, all of that information will be sent to the email address that we have for you in the My AmeriCorps portal. So just want to put a bug in your ear here. If you haven't lately been into the portal and verified, please do that and just make sure that the email address in the system, in the AmeriCorps system, is the one that's currently active for you. We know with so many people moving this time of the year, a lot of times things will change, and we will only know what you provide us in the portal. So definitely double check that for yourself. As I said, we'll need your background check information within 7 days when you receive your email from checker.com. We have to have this information. We have to complete this process. And if we're not able to do that, then it's going to impact your start date. And we absolutely do not want that to happen, right? So we just want to draw your attention to this process, let you know to verify your email in the portal, be on the alert for the checker.com email, and then respond as quickly as you can. If you have any questions about this process in the meantime, please feel free to email us at vistafingerprint@cns.gov. That is a standing email address that multiple Vista staff will be monitoring. And the address is also included in that guide to entering Vista service that was emailed to you. So once we can complete all these back and forth emails and get your information and then complete your FBI background check, we will compare the results from that check with the information that you disclosed on your original AmeriCorps application and disclosure form. And if everything lines up, which is typically the case, then you will not hear from any Vista staff member about this criminal history check again. You'll be done. If for some reason there's a discrepancy between the reports, then you will be contacted and there'll be follow-up required. But no news is good news on the criminal history check front. It means you are done with that particular task. So next up, let's take a look at another really, really burning question that comes up all the time, and that is, when does Vista's health benefit begin? So here's some specific details. Again, via email, in about 2 weeks, you're going to be contacted by the administrator of Vista's health benefit, and that organization is called IMG, as you can see on the screen. IMG will email you directly, and they will ask you to select a benefit and give you the instructions on how to do that in the email. So you'll be able to officially enroll in healthcare in about 2 weeks' time, so 2 weeks from Monday, from your first day of service. And then the official start date for the coverage will be August 30th. It will be your first day of service. So there's a window of time, a bit of a lag from getting the paperwork done for you, but the coverage begins on your first day. If for some reason you personally need proof of health benefit or health coverage in this window of time during your first week of service or before you get the official IMG information, you can contact the healthcare administrator, and you can go to the website that you see on the screen right now, and you can also email them directly to give you a temporary proof of coverage, a temporary coverage card. So as a reminder, and there's a bunch of information about the health benefits in the member handbook and in the AmeriCorps.gov website. So I'm considering these reminders for you. This is definitely not all the info that there is about the benefits. But as a reminder, Vista offers 2 different options. There's a healthcare allowance, which exists for members who have health coverage right now, meaning as you are hearing my voice, you are currently covered by a private insurance plan or Medicaid. And then there's a second option through Vista called the Vista Health Benefit Plan. And that is for members who don't right now have coverage. So 2 different options. Again, IMG is going to ask you to pick one depending on your personal circumstances, and they will give you the information via email on how to set that up for yourself. So to do that, to pick one of those benefits and to receive it, you will have to take action. Because we don't know your personal circumstances, we can't automatically enroll you in either of these. It'll be something for you again in a couple weeks' time to be on the lookout for. there's a window of time when you receive the notification from ING offering you to the opportunity to select one of these options. You'll have about 60 days from that point, 60 days, excuse me, from your first day of service to enroll in the health benefit. So it isn't quite as urgent of a turnaround time as that criminal history check email, but it is obviously very, very important and something we want you to be on the lookout for. Something that's really good to know and folks often ask us about is what happens if your health coverage changes. Let's say you're covered right now, so you pick one plan, but something changes while you're serving in Vista. That is not an uncommon experience. And you can absolutely change. You can switch options during your year of service, right? It is, it's possible to do that, and we know that is something that often happens to folks. Like, for instance, sometimes members will turn 26 and they'll lose coverage under their parents' plan. If you're in that situation, you will contact the administrator again, that's IMG, and they will work with you to adjust the coverage to fit your new circumstance, your new situation. All right, so I do know, as I said, this is such an important benefit, something that, you know, is really front of mind for so many people. It is time sensitive, and we want you to be on the alert about it. But I also don't want you to be too stressed out about it. IMG will contact you via email in 2 weeks. You will get this information, and then you will be able to make a selection to have coverage depending on your current situation.
Okay, and then also on relocation. So another question we often get is, am I eligible for Vista's relocation benefits? Each year, a number of new Vista members relocate to serve in a different community, which we talked about on the poll previously. So in that poll, it was about 37% who indicated you're relocating. And here's how to know if you are eligible for that Vista relocation benefit. So if you have relocated more than 50 miles from your home of record to your new service site, or if you will be relocating within 45 days, you may qualify for a relocation travel allowance and a one-time settling in allowance. So if you are eligible for financial travel support, you should have already received an email from the VMSU, from the Vista Member Support Unit. That email would include a relocation form for you to complete and return. If you relocated, or if you plan to relocate more than 50 miles to your service site and you have not yet received an email confirmation, you haven't received that relocation form, or if you have any questions in general about this, please reach out to the VMSU. You see their email address on the slide. It's vmsu@cns.gov. You can also reach them through the National Service Hotline, and that number is all over AmeriCorps.gov. You can find that. So yes, if you have any questions, or if you have not received an email about relocation eligibility and you are eligible, or you think you are, please just reach out to vmsu@cns.gov. Also on living allowance. So one question, how will I receive my living allowance? So let's talk about it for a second. And actually, before we do that, let's do a quick question here. Does anyone know when you will be getting your first payment? So if so, please type your answer in the chat. First living allowance payment will be on when? Nope, not sure. I don't know. Totally, that's okay. That's why we're here. Seeing some September 17th, 2 weeks, couple Fridays. Pretty good mix. September 10th, September 16th, I think. It's kind of like mid-September or not sure are the main answers. And again, that's totally cool. That's why we're here. So the correct answer is Friday, September 17th, 2021. So that's when it's scheduled to be direct deposited on that date. And to note, most Vista members are paid directly by AmeriCorps every 2 weeks on Fridays. However, some members are paid by their sponsoring organization, and their pay calendar may be slightly different, although typically it aligns with Vista's, but sometimes it's slightly different. Your supervisor can tell you if you will be paid by them and share their pay schedule or not. Federal taxes are withheld from your living allowance, but state taxes are not. So you must determine your own level of responsibility for state taxes. We suggest you check in with your state tax office for more details. If you are paid by AmeriCorps headquarters, you will be able to access your living allowance statement, so your wage statement, in My AmeriCorps, in your my.americorps.gov account. If you are paid directly by your Vista sponsor, you will receive pay statements from them. And then how much is my living allowance? Great question. The amount you receive in your living allowance biweekly payments will depend on where your service site is located. So pay rates will vary by county, from county to county throughout the United States. If you haven't already, you can access the pay rate chart on AmeriCorps.gov to verify the amount you will receive. Please note the pay rates show only the gross pay, so they are the pre-tax pay that are shown on this document. They do not show the amount of federal taxes that will be deducted from your living allowance because, quite frankly, we don't know. It varies from person to person how the federal taxes are deducted. So you see that link in the chat. That goes to the living allowance by county if you want to check the county that you're in from the link that Jeff just posted in the chat. And in order to ensure that you receive your living allowance, it is critical to complete the direct deposit information correctly. If either the routing number or account number you entered for direct deposit is not correct, you will not receive your living allowance payment as scheduled. And please note, please note, you would have to wait at least 2 more weeks until the next pay period to be paid. So please double check this. You can find the routing number and account number. You can find them on your checks if you have them. Some do. I actually do still have some checks collecting dust somewhere. Or you can go to your online banking site and look at an account statement. You may also want to call your bank just to be sure you have the correct information. I would actually recommend that because please be sure to double check your direct deposit information, that the routing and account numbers are accurate in your My AmeriCorps account. Even if you're 95% sure it's correct, it's worth it just to go in and triple check just to make sure there's no hiccups when receiving your living allowance.
Okay, so next up, another burning question. Can I work another job while serving in Vista? And as noted, hopefully you've seen in the Vista Terms and Conditions course on the campus, it is absolutely possible for Vista members to work part-time jobs while they're completing their Vista service. There are a few conditions to make this possible. First of all, the part-time job must not interfere with your Vista schedule or the requirements of your project and of your Vista assignment description. You must discuss the schedule and the demands for the other job with your supervisor and confirm that it will not impact your Vista assignment. And finally, your supervisor has to approve that. Has to approve your outside employment, and there's an outside employment form, of course. There has to be paperwork, and you can see a link to that form in the chat right now. Very simple document, easy and quick for you to do, but vitally important that you have that conversation with your supervisor up front and right away. So definitely make sure that you take a look at that if it applies to your particular circumstances. So those are some of the specific questions that we know new Vista members most frequently ask, right? Your living allowance, your health care, your working another job, your criminal history checks. Those are always top of mind for folks. And so at this point, prior to your service, it's understandable if you have a lot of questions about that and a lot of questions about anything, right? Questions for anyone and everyone in your network, including your supervisor, other staff at your project, other contacts, as well as our Vista staff. So we know that coming in. That's why we set up the last few minutes to walk you through these different categories. And I really hope that this quick review was helpful and that it gave you a good sense of where to go to find more information for your particular circumstance. So far today on our agenda, we've reviewed Vista's mission and our structure. We've talked about the phases of your Vista member orientation and tried to address some of what we believe are the most pressing questions that you have right now. And so at this time, as we mentioned earlier, we are going to invite you to type in any follow-up questions based on what you've heard or any questions that have come up for you today or that you've just been wondering about by using that Q&A feature. And I see a lot of folks have been doing that already. If you haven't, though, if there's a question you've been holding on to, please drop it in that Q&A. We've got a handful of staff who have been monitoring and will continue to monitor that Q&A and answer directly. They'll give you direct answers to questions in the Q&A pod, the Q&A section of the webinar. So definitely take advantage of that if you haven't already. As I said, before we log off, Chris and I will pluck some of the questions out of that Q&A that have a lot of relevance for many people. We'll give verbal answers so that everyone can hear those answers. And as I said, we'll keep trying to plug away and give you personal answers while we're online with you today. All right, so next up, we're going to take a look at some of the concepts covered in the Vista Terms and Conditions course.
So as you know, there is a required course on the Vista campus that we mentioned earlier that covers the rules of participation in AmeriCorps. That is, what is allowable while you are serving as a Vista member. Since Vista members are bound by a variety of laws, regulations, and other rules, we want to make sure you understand them from day one so you can feel comfortable in your new position. If you have already completed the Terms and Conditions course, our next activity should be, or we hope it is, an easy review for you. And if you haven't yet completed the Terms and Conditions course, hopefully this will help emphasize some of the most sensitive issues. Here on this slide, you see the categories of activities addressed in the Terms and Conditions course. As a review today, Barbara and I will walk through a couple of real-life scenarios to see whether or not these are allowable according to Vista's Terms and Conditions. So here's what we'll do. We'll present several scenarios and ask you to indicate just a quick yes or no in the chat, or a Y or N is totally sufficient for each scenario. So with our first scenario, you can see it on this slide right now. I can voice my political opinions using social media where my profile identifies me as an AmeriCorps member. So per the Terms and Conditions, yes or no answer on whether members are allowed to do this. And yes, you can see the chat moving. I am mostly seeing no's, but I certainly seen some yeses sprinkled in here and there. Give it another few seconds, make sure everyone gets a chance to answer. But yeah, it's still mostly no's. No way, I think I saw. Nope. Definitely, I will say it's 80% no's. That's my calculation. Okay, so we will check what the answer is. So here's the answer. It is yes for Vista's Terms and Conditions. So yes, you can have AmeriCorps listed on your personal social media profile and voice your own personal political opinions as part of your online life. However, you cannot represent yourself as a spokesperson for AmeriCorps or for Vista or for your sponsor. You can't be a spokesperson or represent yourself as a spokesperson. Additionally, you can voice political opinions on your own time, but definitely not while serving at your site or while teleserving, that includes teleserving, nor while using any of the equipment at your site, and that could include the Wi-Fi network or your office computer. Those would be equipment from your site, so you can't do it while using that equipment. Also, you should not put the AmeriCorps logo as your profile picture when voicing political or other sensitive opinions on social media. So there are a couple caveats here, though, although the main answer is yes on your own time. But if there's ever any doubt, keep your AmeriCorps service and political activity completely separate is what we'd recommend. If you have any, if it's kind of a gray area, we recommend keeping them separate.
All right, so here's the next scenario. I can demonstrate in a political rally. Imagine, if you will, a time when we are physically out and about rallying. Per our terms and conditions, are you allowed to do this as an AmeriCorps Vista member? What do you think? Yes or no? Oh, the chat is alive with yeses. I see some yeps, some heck yes. I do what I want. Nice, nice. Keep it going. Keep those answers coming in. Yep, a few no's are in there as well. A few question marks, not quite sure, totally understand. Yep, this is an important situation to know about and to be clear about what the rules are and how it works once you're enrolled in Vista. So here is the answer, dun, dun, dun. The answer is yes, yes indeed. You personally can demonstrate in a political rally as long as it's on your own time, right? So yes, you can as a human, but no, you cannot as an AmeriCorps member when you're working as a Vista member, or if you're perceived to be a Vista member. And that perception, if you will, that perceived to be, is an important one depending on where it is that you are serving. I know for myself, I come from a small town in Virginia. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. And so there's a constant perception that if you work at the high school, everything you do, reflects your work at the high school. So if that's your situation in your community, we just encourage you to be extra careful in any sort of political demonstration, any sort of activity in your off time, in your off hours. Again, if you're not sure, if something comes up as you get into your service year and you really want to do it, you want to go to a rally, you want to be involved in some particular activity, it's best to consult your supervisor ahead of time. Like just check it out, run it past them. If y'all aren't sure, reach out to your AmeriCorps regional office for clarification. They can help you really understand what's okay and what's not okay before you take any action.
Okay, next up, what do you think about this one? I can ask people to donate money to a partisan political candidate as long as it's on my own time and I'm not identified as an AmeriCorps member. Again, per the terms and conditions, are you allowed to do this? Yes or no? And so far it's a healthy mix. I would say 50-50. We'll give it a little more time. It's still early. Some question marks in here. Some very definite yes, definite no. I like it. Tricky question, but nah. Can't. This is going so fast.
Hey, there was a call out specifically about the Hatch Act, just FYI, Chris.
Oh, ooh, love it.
I saw that cruise by, yeah.
Okay, it looks like the chat is slowing down a bit, but looks like the no's took over in terms of the majority, but definitely a healthy mix. Thanks for those responses. So let's check out the answer. And the answer is an important one. So no, you cannot raise money on behalf of a partisan political candidate at any time during your AmeriCorps year. So it doesn't matter if you're off duty or if you're at home or not identified as an AmeriCorps member, doesn't matter, because a federal law called the Hatch Act, which was someone correctly mentioned in the chat, the Hatch Act prohibits all fundraising for partisan political candidates. You can, however, you can raise funds in support of an issue or a cause on your own time and when you are not identified as an AmeriCorps member, but not for a partisan political candidate. Okay, so thank you so much for going through these scenarios. While the terms and conditions of your AmeriCorps service, we know, contain many rules, we know that these issues, these three in particular, raise quite a few questions for new members. So again, we want you to feel comfortable getting started. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your project supervisor or your AmeriCorps regional office if you have more questions about these activities, or like we mentioned, if there's something similar that kind of seems like a gray area, please just reach out. It can't hurt to ask your supervisor, your AmeriCorps regional office. They're there for you. And again, just a note, you'll need to, if you haven't done so already, you'll need to complete the full terms and conditions course and then indicate you've completed it in your My AmeriCorps account. Okay, so I know we just covered a lot of information. So now looking at our agenda, we're gonna take a few moments to address some of the questions you may have for Vista, which I know quite a few have come in. So let's see what questions you shared in the Q&A. And as Barbara mentioned earlier, we'll highlight ones that should apply to most everyone, some of the more popular or common questions, but we'll certainly continue to address as many of your individual and more specific questions in the one-on-one Q&A and continue to do so until we wrap up the webinar today. So please know, in some cases, as we mentioned earlier in the FAQs, the answer might be to refer you to your supervisor or to another contact like IMG, the medical group. They might be the ones who have the correct answer for some of these questions. So we want to answer your questions or point you in the right direction. Pulling up the Q&A, and as I'm pulling it up, Barbara, I don't know if you have seen any common ones, or if we should just kind of go down this list of what's in the queue.
Yeah, I have perused a chunk of the Q&A, Chris. There's a lot, and our colleagues, Gina, Charles, Jen, Andy, are all over these questions. So major shout out to our coworkers on the fast typing and the great info that they're dropping into that Q&A. That's wonderful. So a couple of things popped out at my eyes. One, I want to say, because it's a shameless plug for the Vista campus, and that is, Lisa asked a few minutes ago, is there a way to connect with other Vistas in our area? And so Andy responded directly to Lisa on this, but I wanted to say this out loud for everyone, that there is a social component to the Vista campus. There's the learning site that we've been talking about with you so far today, where those pre-service coursework bits are, and the requirements for you to go through the terms and conditions, et cetera. There's another side. When you log into the campus, you'll see Vista Connect, it's called. And in that side of the Vista campus, there are discussion groups and ways that you can reach out and reach out yourself, like wave your flag and say, hey, I'm serving in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Anybody out there? Or you can scroll through that Vista Connect site and see what other folks are chatting about and things that they're sharing, and then connect with them. It seems to be the case that there's quite a lot of energy right when people start their service year, that they will do a lot of posting on Vista Connect. And so I really want to just make sure that you all know that feature exists on the Vista campus. We want you to use it. We want you to use the heck out of it. So please know and please access Vista Connect anytime and as much as you can during your service year. I think that'll be a great resource. In addition, there's certainly a lot of social sites that Vista and AmeriCorps do not manage or even see. We don't go into. There are Facebook groups, there are AmeriCorps alumni groups in different parts of the country. So if nothing like that pops out at you from the Vista campus, I would encourage you to also just Google, AmeriCorps alumni in Winston-Salem and see what comes up, because there have been with AmeriCorps having been around now for many, many years, there are these networks that some of them are just a few people, some of them are hundreds of people. And I think depending on where you are, they could be great connections for you. Chris, there were a few minutes ago, there were a number of comments in the chat, and I think some questions as well in Q&A about the criminal history check. A number of folks said that they had been contacted by checker.com and had submitted their information. They thought they did everything right, but they keep getting the emails from checker.com. Can you say a little bit about why that is? I think I know, but I don't want to give the right answer, or the wrong answer.
Well, I might leave this with you, Barbara. So they said they completed their online check, and then the emails are being sent. So the emails that are being sent, it might be requesting follow-up information. But if that's not the case, I will pass this back to you, Barbara.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I didn't see anyone mention like follow-up information. My other thought was that it's a system message that's sent out to all new members, that it's not tailored to you personally. So it could be that you're getting the kind of blast emails, you know what I mean, for the whole group, and that's why you're still in that communication, even if you've individually completed it. So if anyone else is in that situation, or if there's more nuance to that question or situation, please type that in the Q&A, because we want to make sure you feel comfortable that you've done your side of the submission, and make sure that you know what's going on there.
Absolutely.
There were a couple questions, Chris, if people could go to school while they're serving in Vista, attend college, or take classes. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah. So yes, you can. It's very very similar to what Barbara was talking about with the outside employment. You can go to school, on as long as the courses and classes don't interfere with your Vista schedule. Yes, certainly you could do so. And if doing so, we'd still ask that you complete that form that Barbara was mentioning, the outside employment form, just to have it on file, just to make sure your schedule aligns with your course schedule, aligns with your Vista schedule, and that your supervisor is in agreement with it. It's like a one-page form. It's not long. So I know you're getting hit with forms left and right now, but I promise this is a short one.
Yeah, nothing but the forms happening.
Yeah.
There also looks like several open questions, as well as several that were answered individually earlier, regarding time off and time work schedules. So I don't think we've addressed this yet, but I wonder, Chris, if you could just say a couple of sentences about the Vista leave benefit, what everyone has access to, and then if there's anything about what the work schedule is for Vista members.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing I would say is there is some information on this in the FAQ document that was sent. I know, yeah, Barbara, I think you're right. I don't think we addressed it on this live webinar, but I just want to mention to everyone, if you have questions on your service hours and timekeeping, there's some good FAQs in that document that was emailed this morning. And also, as a quick side note, if you didn't receive the email, please check your spam. But also, as Barbara mentioned earlier, please make sure that email address in My AmeriCorps is up to date. But feel free to reach out to me. I can resend it, so you can respond to any of the emails you got from myself, chawks@cns.gov. And I can easily, just quickly resend the FAQ document. But yes, so in short, yes, you get 10 personal and 10 sick leave days. Those are separate, so 10 and 10. And you also get federal holidays that are recognized by your service site. You get those days off. So that can vary from site to site, but and it could be different. So for example, some sites might recognize Veterans Day as a holiday where all of their staff get off. that's the case, you as well get to recognize that as a holiday and have that day off. That being said, other sites might be working that day and have their staff working on Veterans Day. And if that's the case, then you would be expected to work along with your colleagues at your site. So yeah, 10 leave, 10 sick, and another common question there is how to track those. So those are tracked between yourself and your supervisor. So there's not, I think a lot of Vistas assume, and I can understand this, but kind of assume that you would fill something out in your My AmeriCorps account to request it, but that's not the case. This is all handled between you and your supervisor with your leave days, and that also includes your service hours, your weekly hours. That's all handled at your site, not with AmeriCorps.
Great. Yep. Thank you for that, Chris.
Yeah.
Again, a bunch of questions I saw in the chat earlier, and then just now again cruising the Q&A. Some very individual questions about your personal circumstances and your healthcare coverage. So I want to again just reiterate that the administrator for the two options that are available for Vista, the administrator called IMG, that website for the IMG benefits and their business, their communication thread, they are really going to be your go-to to get those direct answers to your specific questions. And I want you to feel comfortable, going right to that website, looking for that information. And once you are enrolled in the health benefit, the customer service with IMG will also be very helpful for you. But unfortunately, since we don't know all the nuances of your personal circumstances, I'm sorry to say that Chris and I can't give you exact answers in some cases, and really IMG will be your best contact there. All right, in terms of other questions, I am seeing a smattering of questions about, Chris, about the post-service education award. And I know we're not talking about that today. There's a bunch of written information about the Ed Award. But I wonder if you could just say in a sentence or two briefly what the education award is and how it can be used.
Yeah, absolutely. So for your end of service award, you can choose between the education award or cash stipend. The education award, you can receive up to the value of 2 full education awards in your lifetime. So just mention that because we have Vistas who are serving, a second or maybe a third year. So if you've already received 2 full education awards, you won't be eligible to receive a third. You would have to go the cash stipend in that route, and the cash stipend is preferable for some Vistas as well. The education award, I actually don't recall the exact amount. It's like $6,800. It aligns with the Pell Grant amount. Is something that you would receive after you complete your year of service. It's something that will be accessed in your My AmeriCorps account. So once you complete your year of service, your 365 days, 1 year from next week, and you selected the education award. Once you finish, it'll be accessible in your My AmeriCorps accounts where you can go in and use it to pay off qualifying federal student loans that you have, or to pay for future education expenses at Title IV institutions. So institutions that accept federal funding for the most part. It's most institutions, educational institutions. And there's tons of information on AmeriCorps.gov on this to follow up on specifically on the education award. But that's the basic gist of it. So you can use it for past loans, qualifying federal student loans, or for future education at Title IV institutions, and you have up to 7 years to use it. I will quickly mention choosing between those two. It's something you'll have to do pre-service, whether you want the education award or cash stipend. If you are unsure, like you're kind of on the fence, and like, I'm not sure, maybe I want the education award, but I don't have any loans, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go to school in the future. What we recommend for now, if you're on the fence, then is to select the education award for now. that will allow you, because you have up until the end of your 10th month of service to change from the education award to the cash stipend. So you can make a change in your My AmeriCorps account up until your 10th month of service. But the reverse is not true. If you select the cash stipend, it's a final decision. You can't make the change later. So that's just something we want to point out. You know, if you're not sure, we recommend the education award for now. That buys you a little more time to make your decision.
Great. Yeah, thanks for covering that, Chris. I do think because people were checking in about that, I just wanted to pull that out. I know, we'll talk, I think, a little bit about that next week. There's tons of written information in the benefits section that we mentioned earlier about the education award or the cash stipend. So you can explore that further if you're trying to make your decision, and just wanted to draw your attention to that. I also just wanted to recognize Travis for pointing out in the chat that that both of those end of service benefits are taxable. So that's just news that's important for you to have as you are understanding how all of this works. And I, again, thank you, Travis, for noting that. Super, super important for everyone. Chris, I feel like at this point we're in good shape on the kind of generalizable questions. I think we're okay to move on if you're okay with it.
Yeah, that sounds good, and we can certainly continue to answer those questions individually in the Q&A.
Okay. Yep. Great. Thank you. Yeah, as I said, I see our colleagues typing away. Those fingers are rolling in the Q&A, so please feel free to put them to work in there. And yeah, as Chris said, thank you all for submitting those questions, for having this back and forth with us. It's incredibly helpful for us to see what's on your mind, right? It really helps us try to learn what we can do to best support you and future Vista members. So just like today on Monday's webinar, we will again have this Q&A time. We'll again have a group of Vista staff on with you to be responsive and to give you information that you need. So if for some reason we didn't get to your question today, I just want to say we will have another shot at that when we are back on together on Monday. So next, I just want to spend a quick minute before we log off to look at some online resources, share a few reminders, and then share our closing remarks for today's presentation. So as you know, Chris and I have repeated multiple times, and I hope these are burned into your brain. These are the two websites that have figured so prominently in today's presentation, and no doubt every single email that you've received from Vista. If you haven't already, I really encourage you to bookmark these sites so that you can easily and quickly access them at any time in your service year. Just as a reminder, my.americorps.gov is the My AmeriCorps portal. So you may hear it called any of those things, the portal, My AmeriCorps, or the website may be spelled out. This is the site where you applied for your AmeriCorps position. It's the site where you're going to find those forms that we were talking about earlier, including your direct deposit form, your unemployment form. All of that magic occurs in the portal. And it's where you can also access that Vista assignment description. If you haven't done that already, we want to make sure that you have your VAD ready for you on Monday when we meet again. The portal, or My AmeriCorps, is also where, in just a few weeks, you'll be able to find your additional paperwork that verifies your living allowance amount. So a living allowance statement will be there. You will be able to request additional benefits, some of the ones we discussed today. And then you will be able to find something called a service letter. You can find it and print it if you need to verify your AmeriCorps service for any reason. And then the Vista campus, of course, is where the Vista member orientation coursework is. We want you to, be very good friends with the Vista campus early on, not only for your VMO, but for beyond, including, as I mentioned a few moments ago, that Vista Connect, or that social site that's on the campus. I just think it's such a great resource for you, and want to make sure that you know that you can connect with other Vistas in this group, everyone who's on today, as well as those serving around the country, by using that Vista Connect page.
Okay, and we have just a few moments left on our session today, and here's just one last reminder about the coursework, onboarding forms, and online criminal history check that are due from you, and these are reflected in that BMO learning path on the Vista campus. Also, finally, today, we'd love your feedback on our presentation. Love to know what worked well for you and how can we improve this presentation for future AmeriCorps members. So we'd ask that you please take a few moments to complete a survey. It's a brief survey. It's not very long. And we certainly use your input. We check these. We do value your input very much. Even as we complete preparation for our webinar next week. So thank you in advance. You'll see a link in the chat that Jeff just dropped for the survey. And also it's designed as you close out of Zoom for that survey to pop up. So please complete that, and thank you in advance. And with that, I want to revisit our session goals that we mentioned at the beginning. So today, I hope that we have started to build some new connections and kind of put some faces to names, and that we helped really clarify some of the complexity of starting your Vista service. We certainly know this is a busy time for you, very busy, and so much information is available and coming at you every which way. So we really hope today's discussion helped clarify some of the AmeriCorps requirements, and really we wanted to help you know where you can go to find information quickly. If a question pops up after this webinar concludes, which if you're like me, absolutely, it's always like half hour after something ends that I think of something that I wanted to ask. That we hope, in that case, you would know where to go to find the answer to that question. But if not, we'll have an opportunity next week. So thank you for joining us on today's webinar. And from all of us here at AmeriCorps, thank you for joining the Vista team. So we look forward to seeing you again next Monday, August 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern time, so the exact same time as this webinar, for our second orientation webinar and when you'll swear in. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your week.